Hello, did you miss me? Today I'm bringing the end of the year book tag, and I couldn't believe the first time that I saw someone upload this tag. Like, in my mind, we're still in April. So I've seen different versions of this tag. I've seen the version from the English speaking community and the version from the Spanish speaking community. Honestly, I think I like the Spanish version a little bit more because you will see we have 12 questions, each of them corresponding to a month in the year. So if you also like this version, please feel free to be tagged. Before starting this tag, I want to ask you, how are you doing with your 2020 reading goals? Are you there yet? Has the lockdown helped you or affected you? If you have not accomplished your goals yet, how close are you to them? So first question, January. What was the first book that you read at the beginning of 2020? And this is To All the Boys I've Loved Before. I've talked about this book several times in this channel. It is a romance trilogy following Lara Jean, this girl that used to write love letters to the boys that she used to love. And someday these letters got out and they weren't supposed to get out, and this brings her a lot of trouble. I'm not pleased to say that I haven't finished this trilogy yet, but we're going to talk about this in some other question. Since February is the shortest month, the question is, what is the shortest book that you read during 2020? This is We Should All Be Feminist by Chimamanda Adichie. I hope I'm saying that right. I read this during the International Women's Day, which is March 9th, if I'm not mistaken, and this gave it a little bit more impact to me. Even though it is a very basic introduction into feminism, I learned quite some from it. And if you ask the Monica from a year ago if she is a feminist, she probably wouldn't have said that she could have the privilege of calling herself that. But even though I don't consider myself a full feminist, I'd rather be a bad feminist than no feminist at all. As I already said, March is Women's Month, and for this month is what is your favorite female author of 2020. And because 2020 was also a very important year for Black Lives Matter, I started reading more books by colored women. I don't think I did them on purpose. I think marketing had a lot to do with that, and I'm quite glad because I discovered that I really enjoyed stories written by Black women. They see the world in a lens that I could never hope to get a peek through if I haven't read their books, and they're so much deeper. I learned so much more stuff of things that I didn't even imagine. Even I myself, I am a colored woman, I am Latina. It is also very different, the Black experience from the Latina experience. I've read invaluable lessons from this woman. For example, Becoming by Michelle Obama. I consider this to be one of my favorite books of all time. Also CONJURE Woman by Afia Atakora. I hope I'm saying that right. And also The Vanishing Half by Brit Bennett. But I have to say, whenever I remember a book, and the book that made me see so many stuff that I didn't see before was Bad Feminist by Roxane Gay. And I also started following her on Twitter, and she has some very strong opinions. I don't necessarily always agree with her, but I like the way how she always challenges everything and she questions everything. For April, I'm going to tell you about the best middle grade book that I read during the year, and this is because in April we celebrate Children's Day in Mexico. And this book has to be, without a doubt, Wonder by R.J. Palacio. This is a story about a little boy that was born with a deformity in his face, and he has endured several surgeries to make his face more normal. And because he is so young and he has never been to school, his mother believes that the best thing for him is to go into the world. It is generally known that kids can be very cruel because they don't think twice about your questions, and sometimes they can hurt August even if they didn't intend to do so. We not only see this story through August's point of view, we also see the people around August and how this little boy impacted their lives in the most positive way. For May, I'm going to tell you about the most beautiful cover that I've read this year. Well, the book with the most beautiful cover. For example, when I started reading Conjure Woman, I don't own it, but I only saw like the tiny cover and I thought it was very pretty, and then I enlarged it after I finished the book and I could appreciate what was on the cover. It is a doll that is mentioned in the book. The top part of the doll is Rue, one of the main protagonists, and the bottom part of the doll is Verena, which is Rue's best friend and master. And when I saw this and all the colors, I really appreciated this cover, and I have to say this is one of the prettiest. Another one that I also like is the Midnight Circus. I like the red with the white with the black, and I think it goes very well with the story, and this is also a very beautiful story. I have not yet made a wrap-up of this one, but expect it soon. June is a perfect month for a good audiobook, and I love them. And in this month, I'm going to tell you about two of the best audiobooks that I read during the year, because I couldn't decide for just one. The first one is The 13th Tale. This story is so whimsical, even if there is rarely any magic to it. When I was listening to this audiobook, I felt that someone was stroking my hair, helping me to sleep. I just feel that it really fits this novel. A lot of people don't know what genre this novel fits into, and I find myself within those people. It's just one of those books that you have to read. The least that you know, the better. And the second audiobook that I have to talk about is Becoming by Michelle Obama. I think it's very meaningful that this audiobook is narrated by her, and I really appreciated the story and the lessons that I got from this book a whole lot more. I believe that anyone could read this book and get a very valuable lesson out of it. July, longest book you've read during the year. This is A Feast for Crows by George R.R. Martin. This is the fourth book in the Song of Ice and Fire saga, better known as Game of Thrones. I really enjoyed book number 3, and in book number 4 we follow mainly what's going on in Westeros. We exclude Essos and the Wall, and I was really hoping to read about some of these characters, even though I knew that I wouldn't be reading about them, and we got introduced to some characters that I really didn't care a lot for. This is the book that I have enjoyed the least in the saga, and it is also the longest one. August, a book that you read super fast this year. The first ones that come into mind were some books that the main saga was very popular some 10 years ago, and then they had a comeback. The first one was A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and this is a prequel for The Hunger Games. I read this one very quickly because I wanted to make a review, why not? And I think that also helped me enjoy the book a little bit more. And also I read Midnight Sun. This is Twilight from Edward's point of view, and I read both of these books in 3 days. I normally take my time with books because I'm at least reading 3 books at a time. So if I take 1 week reading a book, it normally takes me 3 weeks because I'm reading 2 other books. And I don't regret this. I think this really pumped the experience for me and made me enjoy them more. September is Independence Month in Mexico, not Cinco de Mayo as some think. And because of this, the question is a national author that you read during this year. And I dare say that most of the books that you and I read are national authors, whether you are from Britain, whether you are from the USA, Canada, or anything. So I'm going to change this one into an international author that you read this year, and I'm going to use the same answer that I used for my Spanish version, because I'm going to talk to you about Fernanda Melchor. Fernanda Melchor This is a Mexican author, and she became really famous recently because of her book Hurricane Season. It is translated into English, and it is a very raw and quite triggering book. In here we mostly follow a small town in Mexico in which there is a character that they call her La Bruja, the witch, and at the beginning of the book she is found dead, and we follow several people from this little town and see how they were implied in La Bruja's life and sometimes in her death. If you like horror, a heavy atmosphere, thriller, or just want to read a Latinx book, this is a great pick for you. October, a horror book that you read. This has to be The Shining. It's the first one that came to mind, and this is a book by Stephen King. It's one of his most famous books because of the movie with Jack Nicholson. I think it's quite original, even if he didn't come up with the idea himself, of the Overlook being an evil being that wants to take Jack's little boy Danny because he has the Shining, which is like a superpower in which he can low-key see the future, sometimes read minds and stuff like that. In November, the year is almost over, and I'm going to tell you about some of the books that I want to finish before the year is over. And the first one would be the third book in the Lara Jean trilogy. I believe it's Always and Forever Lara Jean, something like that. And I haven't finished it because the first two ones I listened to in audiobook, but the third one wasn't available in audiobook in my library and I had to get it like in Kindle. But I have prioritized other books in my Kindle and I just started reading another one yesterday. So I'm really hoping to finishing this trilogy by the end of the year. And also in my goals for this year, I wanted to read the first two books from the Harry Potter series. I know what's going on with J.K. Rowling, but I just never read those books when I was a little girl, and I don't want to not experience that and to not have a valid opinion about these books. And I already had them, and my husband gave them to me 2 years ago. So I hope to finish those two books, and those are the only ones that I'm thinking of right now. Maybe all of the books that I'm currently reading, but we're going to talk about that later in the wrap-ups. And for December, a book with a great ending. The first book that comes to mind is The 13th Tale. Even if the ending doesn't have anything quite sad going on, it is so perfect, so round, so heartwarming, wholesome, and the author put such thought to it that it made me cry. It's like a bittersweet ending. People get a little bit of what they were hoping, and it just warms my heart when I think about a special character. If you couldn't tell, The 13th Tale has a great ending. That's all for the tag. Thank you for coming and talk with me. The secret phrase today is end of the year. Write that in the comment section below so that I know that you stuck until the end, and that will make me very happy. Don't forget to like, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and hit the notification bell, and I'll see you next week with a new video. Bye!